Let's talk about how to pass the Boston Consulting Group video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another video to help you get hired. Today we're going to be covering the consulting giant and one of our most requested videos, Boston Consulting Group. Now we're going to be going through the recruitment process, the most common interview questions that were asked, and also a rapid fire round for other interview questions that we found interesting. Everything that we found is based upon our research from publicly available sources from candidates who interviewed at Boston Consulting Group over the last 6 months. And as ever, I'm going to be reading from this research note which we prepared, which you can get along with courses, scripts and templates which you can find in the Boston Consulting Group, past the interview pack down in the description below. Let's get into it. So candidates reported of the whole recruitment process that it took around 2 months to complete. You're asked to complete online tests, and then once you complete your application you go for an interview which is at the company, which is more based on your job role, staff and a chance to meet current employees. So a little bit sparse in terms of the information that was provided, but that's what candidates reported over the last 6 months. One thing I would say definitely to be aware of for Boston Consulting Group is making sure that you have good knowledge around case studies, how to answer case studies. In a very rare plug, we don't have anything to do with them, but I really do highly rate managementconsulting.com. I think they're brilliant. I have seen and observed their resources and their team over the years, and I think they do a really fantastic job of preparing candidates for interviews at management consulting companies. Also, if you go to courses.jobreadyenglish.com, you can find one of our case studies, which is really quite helpful for learning how to answer case studies step by step. So we've got 7 most common interview questions and then 6 other questions which came up. And I'll talk a little bit about the end about how to think about answering case studies, and particularly market sizing case studies, which I've dealt with fairly frequently over the years when dealing with consulting companies. So here are the 7 most common interview questions. These were questions that candidates reported being asked multiple times, so we feel like it's highly likely that they're going to get asked again. Question 1, why Boston Consulting Group? Now, for most companies, it's important to do your homework. For management consulting companies, it's really important to do your homework. One thing that you don't want to do is go into an interview at Boston Consulting Group, just say, oh, it's a great consulting company and it's really big and it's famous and it's super interesting and it's a world-class team. They're just going to bore you out the door. What you really want to do is you want to make sure that you take the time to pick out some really interesting facts. Boston Consulting Group, much like McKinsey, Bain and a lot of the other big consulting groups, spend a lot of time writing up case studies because essentially it helps them sell their services to other companies that within that vertical industry that they have a presence within. So what I would do is pick out 1 or 2 facts about the company in general, and also I would find a case study that you found really interesting, a problem that they're trying to solve, a technology that they're going to use. I would put a lot of thought into this question, and I would operate, if it's an interview that you're going to be doing face to face, I tend to find 2 to 3 minutes to answer this question. Really important in consulting is the ability to communicate and to do so with confidence, to have an opinion, and also to get your facts right. Something that I find that people frequently miss when they're going to interview for consulting roles or at consulting companies is they're really not that prepared. They can't really communicate with confidence, and they don't really have their facts straight. So they're not really understanding what the job of a consultant is, which is essentially is to go to a company, help to fix a problem, hoover up a vast amount of information, whether that be papers or from people, and then come together and think of an innovative solution. Question number 2, why do you want to do this job? So this is a 2-part question. Number 1, what are you going to be doing as a consultant? Number 2, what are really key skills that a consultant needs to have? That's really important. So it's having that awareness that generally as a consultant you're going to be working long hours, you're going to spend a lot of time at client sites, there's a lot of travel that's involved. You're really got to have to be good at doing a lot of learning on the go. The other thing to really bear in mind is you've got to be really good at communicating, and also communicating complex information in a simple fashion. Very often if you're meeting with C-suite level executives or senior management, they don't really understand the complexities and the ins and outs of what you're talking about. So you need to learn to convey that information in a simple way that they're going to understand, which is generally based around money, people, or efficiency or inefficiency within the business, or products that are being released, competitors, these types of things are kind of saying like, this is good, it will make you more money, or this is good, it will save you some money, or this is a good product because this company did this type of product and this is how much they sold. Question number 3, tell us about a time you worked as part of a team. And a little bit of a level up on this question, you're going to want to use the STAR format, you're going to want to emphasize the actions that you took and pick out some really key teamwork skills. If you want to know how to absolutely crush the STAR format, make sure you check out the Boston Consultant Group Pass the Interview Pack. We've got a whole book that's dedicated to it with over 100 sample answers and worksheets which you can use step by step to prepare some perfect answers for your upcoming interview. Now, talking about teamwork as well, it'd be really good if you concentrate on teamwork which is either based in work or based on solving a difficult problem. Really importantly, as a consultant, a lot of times you're having to go in and just learn new stuff. Now, personally speaking, having been a professional writer, a coach, and also a consultant by their very nature is consultative, right? So I'm basically saying to you, okay, I've gone away, I've learned some stuff, this is what you need to do, this is what I suggest is the best course of action, and it's quite directive in the way that that information is being presented. Also, as a professional writer, writing for I've written for 7, 8 and 9 figure businesses, what I found is what's really important, doing your homework, making sure that you do your research and you have your facts straight, and finding information potentially across multiple verticals or sources, because you might be going to work for an FMCG company and you might have a really good business practice process or product that you've learned from the airline industry, and you think, well, this has actually worked really well for Airbus. I think that there is something that's applicable for your company and we can use to work for you. Definitely making sure that you put some research in to solve a problem as a team. Question number 4, tell us about some challenges you have faced and how you have dealt with them. When talking about challenges, I think it's good that this is personal, that these are big challenges, and that you show that this is something that's happened over multiple stages. For example, I've trained in a particular martial art for a number of years. You're only allowed to grade once a year, so if you want to proceed on to be a black belt, you have to train for a minimum of 7 years. Now, this is something that requires dedication and also just returning back to the basics. Sometimes I can train a lot, I can train 3 or 4 times a week, and sometimes I've had months off because I've just been so busy that I haven't been able to train. But my progression through that has literally come from dedication, discipline, time management, organisation, all of those types of things, and a lot of times it's to do with prioritisation. So if you're going to be talking about challenges, I think that number 1, it should be something that is really challenging or is quite difficult or not a lot of people can do. One of my favourite sayings comes from Matt Fraser, who's the 5 times CrossFit World Champion, and he said that do today what you can so that tomorrow you'll be able to do what other people can't because they didn't put in the action today. Big goals, big challenges, big dreams really just require daily dedication over the period of weeks, months, years, or even decades to be able to achieve something which, from an outside or normal person's perspective, they think, oh my God, how did you do that? But any champion or world-class professional will just say, I just kept turning up every single day. Just turned up until I achieved something that others can't, because I did yesterday, the week, the month, the year before that other people just wouldn't do, not that they couldn't do. Question 5, what is your proudest achievement? I would definitely pick something that personally resonates with you. Management consulting is infamous and related to people who are really good at solving difficult problems, who are very smart and who are multi-skilled. So if you're going to be approaching this question, I think a proudest achievement is really just doing something that most people couldn't or wouldn't do or are too scared to do. But I think definitely pick something which means something personally to you. What I mean by that is very often I hear people give examples from work which in and of themselves are not particularly impressive, and also really just makes me think that that candidate is just saying something that they think that I want to hear. It's not really their proudest achievement. So something that means something really personal to you, and the best way to kind of reframe this question is to remove yourself from the interview and just think, what if I was trying to impress a friend, a member of the family, somebody who I've just started to go out with, and they asked me this question, what would I say? Question 6, what is your biggest strength? So pick out one of the skills from the job description, it doesn't matter what one, and probably it's going to be something related to problem solving, numerical ability, data, something like that I would suggest, and then make sure you give a really clear example to demonstrate this skill. and how you have also, as a bonus, how you are improving that skill and getting better at this skill. And finally, question number 7, what is your biggest weakness? I am a big fan of picking out weaknesses which are true, which are real, and which resonate with you personally. So in other past interviews, the videos, I've given examples about maybe being a bit disorganized, maybe struggling to focus on one thing at a time, maybe struggling to work deeply, which is why I work with deep focus on one thing at a time. I think the biggest thing to remember about a weakness is everybody has them, and also it's about what you learn and what you're getting better at. I personally really don't like answers someone say, I work too hard, I struggle to say no, I'm a people pleaser, I often burn out, or something like that. That to me is a bit disingenuous, it's a bit false. Like you could say, well, I struggle to self-care, I struggle to prioritize at times, and also to be socially assertive. These are actually more positive spins on what is really a weakness that I hear time and time again, and I personally find when I listen to it, it just feels a little bit false to me. So here's some rapid fire. How do you show great leadership? Vision, determination, action and discipline. Tell us about yourself. Check out the video up here, which is a really popular video from us that talks all about how to give a great personal introduction and has a free worksheet. Tell me about a time that you solved a conflict. Identify the conflict, speak to the individual, try not to shame, try to keep an eye on the vision or the goal that you're trying to achieve, and see where you can compromise or where you could step in and lend a hand or ask for help from an external source. What will you bring to the company? List out your best skills. So literally, if someone's to say what's your unique selling point or what's 5 best things about you, that's what I would do. Don't stay humble. This is a really good opportunity for you to say, look at all the awesome things that I've done. Tell us about any experience that you have. Try and relate it to the job description, to the job role, and solving difficult problems and helping people or companies. Tell us about a time you made a mistake and how you fixed it. So everybody in their arsenal should have a question where they've made a mistake, failed to meet a deadline. So really all this is about having the ability to appraise and say, okay, so it's kind of like this analysis that happens afterwards. An example that I really liked is from the SEAL teams, where after every mission they ask themselves 3 questions. What went well, what went badly, what could we improve? And a lot of times it's like that. So particularly when you're doing something for the first time, you make a mistake, a lot of people will beat themselves up, but honestly, what's the point? If you want it to be better, then you need to kind of look back, learn, improve, and do it better next time, and provide that in your example. So just quickly, I wanted to talk on market size and case studies. This is actually all brain teasers in general. This is a really common theme that comes up for management consulting companies and people struggling to answer this. The most important, so a market sizing, there are 7 different types of brain teasers. Market sizing is one of them, which is a question that I used to use quite a lot. It used to be from Goldman Sachs, was tell me how many light bulbs are there in London. So first of all, what are the variables that are involved in that question? So light bulbs and London. So you want to think, right, okay, so how big is London? You can ask questions. Do you mean central London? Do you mean greater London? Do you mean within the M25? You want to approximate population, because what is the metric that you're going to be using? Are you going to be using light bulbs per meter squared? You're going to be using the number of light bulbs per people. All the time that you're doing this, you want to be speaking these things out loud. Really take your time to answer market sizing questions. One thing that I notice with candidates who are unsure of themselves is they will try and rush and give an answer really quickly. I would say in less than 3 minutes. This is a question that you can easily speak on for 10 minutes, right? Just being really slow, very methodical, asking the interviewer questions and saying, well, what about this? Should I include this? Should I not include this? Being really curious. One of the good things or good characteristics or qualities of a consultant is just being curious, open-minded, and asking questions and thinking, is there something that I've missed? Is there other information that we can bring into this which is going to help me to solve this problem? The other thing to do is to categorize. So say for example the light bulb question, and a good candidate will go through, will be like, well, there are light bulbs in a house, there are light bulbs in household items, there are light bulbs in cars, there are light bulbs in the streets, in shops, in shopping malls, there are light bulbs that are being sold, in warehouses. So go through each of these things and then methodically try to work out by rough estimation. And instead of, ultimately there is a little bit of problem solving by anecdote, so basically by your own experience, you'll be like, well, in my house there are this many light bulbs and that sort of thing, but really just clearly explaining your train of thought. If you've got a bit of pen and paper, you can doodle all those things down, and then you can have your approximate number at the end. But the main mistake that I see with market sizing case studies is just people rushing and being desperate to give the right answer, when really nobody actually really knows how many light bulbs there are in London as a precise number. But you can really clearly demonstrate the method and the logic, the patience and the curiosity of your ability to solve this question. I hope you enjoyed this little bonus bit at the end about market sizing case studies. Let us know how we did. Drop us a comment down below, a like for the video, subscribe to the channel. We're always releasing past the interview videos for new companies. Let us know in the comments, have you got an interview coming up? Did you watch our video and you had an interview, or other companies that you'd like us to cover? Or just say hello, or let us know where you are in the job hunting process. I wish you the best of luck. Bye.